Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel, where secrets don't stay secrets and silence is never just silence. She was holding her phone in both hands, texting so quickly her thumbs blurred. She didn't notice me at first, which was strange. I was standing right there, just outside the glass wall of the office lounge. She always used to notice me, even in a crowd, even from across a room. Her eyes would search for me, like it was instinct. But today, she looked right past me, and kept laughing. It wasn't a fake laugh either. Number. It was that kind of bright, spark-filled laugh she used to save for me in our first years of marriage. The laugh that used to mean you're the only one in the world right now. But now, someone else had it. Some guy in a sharp jacket, too confident for someone on a coffee break. They were close. Too close for just coworkers. Her knee lightly touched his. She didn't move it. I didn't storm in. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I stood there like an idiot, holding two coffees that were getting colder by the second, while watching my wife behave like she was single. No ring, no husband, no history. Then, her face changed. She saw me. Not in the romantic, oh my God kind of way. Not even startled. Number. She froze. Her smile snapped shut. Her eyes darted from me, to her phone, to the man beside her. And then, like muscle memory, she turned away, typed something with lightning speed, and shoved her phone face down on the table. That one move told me everything, because only someone hiding something reacts like that. I walked in slowly, quietly. She looked up and said, "Oh, hey," like I was someone's brother she vaguely remembered from a wedding once. Not, "Hey babe," not, "What are you doing here?" Not even, "I missed you." Just, "Hey." The guy beside her stood up, smiled politely, too politely, and walked away without being introduced, like he knew his role in this already. I handed her the coffee. My hand was shaking. She didn't notice, or she pretended not to. And then, right there in front of me, she picked up her phone, the same one she just slammed down, and said, "I need to check something real quick." And I watched her unlock it with the calm of someone completely unbothered, and type with her back to me. That's when it hit me. This wasn't the first time. She didn't forget I was her husband today. She forgot a long time ago, and I was the only one just figuring it out. But what she didn't know is that I saw the name at the top of her screen, and I recognized it, because it wasn't new, and neither was this betrayal. We drove home in silence that evening. I didn't bring up the man from her office, and she didn't offer an explanation. I watched her from the corner of my eye, the way her fingers tapped aimlessly on her phone screen, pretending to scroll, but clearly waiting for something. A reply, a message, something that wasn't from me. I could tell. I always could. The name I saw earlier still echoed in my mind. Colt. It was burned into my memory like a brand. It wasn't a common name, and unfortunately, it wasn't unfamiliar either. Months ago, she mentioned him once, briefly, something casual like, "Oh, Colt from design is hilarious." I didn't think anything of it at the time. I smiled, nodded, like the idiot I am, because I trusted her, because I still believed we were solid, because I thought marriages didn't fall apart quietly, that if something was wrong, it would look wrong. But now I knew better. It doesn't always start with a lie. Sometimes it starts with a laugh you weren't supposed to hear. That night, while she was in the shower, I did something I told myself I'd never do. I picked up her phone. She always left it on the dresser when she showered. No password, too trusting, or maybe too arrogant. I didn't go looking for dirt. I went looking for relief. Some kind of proof that I was paranoid, that I'd read too much into a moment, that I still mattered. But what I found shattered whatever hope I had left. She had changed his name in her contacts to Mallory, HR. Clever. I almost believed it. Until I opened the thread and saw the photo. Her, in that same coffee lounge, but closer, taken from Colt's perspective. Her head tilted, her eyes glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. The caption read, "This moment. You. Always." There was no context needed, no joke to explain it away, no innocent emoji, just a sentence that cut like glass. The worst part, her reply was even faster than the photo had been sent. "Wish I could have kissed you right then. He ruined it. He ruined it." She was talking about me. I sat there, heart pounding, hearing the shower running in the background. The woman I shared a bed with, the one I paid bills with, built dreams with, was upstairs rinsing her hair while messaging another man about how I ruined her perfect moment with him. And I just stood there, clutching a phone that wasn't even locked, holding messages that weren't even hidden. That's how far gone we were. She didn't even bother to be discreet anymore. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I placed the phone back exactly where it was, walked out to the porch, and sat in the dark for over an hour, listening to the silence, letting it scream. What do you do when you realize your marriage has been slowly replaced by a performance? You watch, you wait, and you learn everything she doesn't want you to know. Because I wasn't going to explode. I was going to unravel this, quietly. And she wouldn't even see it coming. 3 days passed. She acted like nothing happened, like I hadn't seen the messages, the photo, or the truth written in bold text right under her name. She was all smiles, fake chuckles, casual pecks on the cheek before leaving for work. But I watched her closer now. Not like a husband, but like a stranger trying to decode the woman he thought he knew. Every gesture became suspicious. Every glance at her phone, every "I'll be home late," made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. That Friday morning, she mentioned an office party. Just a small quarterly thing, she said, pouring almond milk into her coffee. You'd hate it. Corporate people, dumb jokes, cheap wine. She didn't even ask if I wanted to come. She told me I wouldn't. That was her way of keeping me out, disguising it as a favor. I played along, I nodded, made a joke about ordering takeout and watching documentaries, and she kissed my forehead like I was a sweet old man she was babysitting. That evening, she wore a dress I hadn't seen before. Tight, elegant, black velvet with a slit up one side and just enough shimmer to catch every bit of light. She said it was new. I asked when she bought it. She blinked. Last week, I think, then shrugged. Online, sale. But I remembered last week. She came home late 3 times, once claiming traffic, once team drinks, and once a strategy meeting. Not once did she mention shopping. After she left, I waited, sat at the kitchen table in silence, staring at the untouched takeout menu. Then I opened my laptop, took a deep breath, and messaged someone I never thought I'd need to. A guy named Brent, whose wife also worked at the same firm. We'd only ever chatted during Christmas parties and potlucks, but he seemed grounded, observant, like me. I sent a short message. Hey Brent, random question. Is tonight's office party open to spouses? Lila said it wasn't really my thing, but figured I'd double check. 2 dots, typing. Then, yeah, it's casual, but spouses are welcome. Nora's dragging me. You should come. I didn't know Lila was going. I stared at the message for a full minute. Brent didn't know she was going. Nora didn't know either. But Lila was in a full face of makeup. Stepping into an Uber, texting someone I could already guess the name of. I told Brent I'd think about it, then grabbed my keys. No hesitation this time. I was done pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. The office building wasn't far. I parked half a block away and waited, just long enough to make sure I wouldn't bump into her at the entrance. Then, I slipped into the lobby and took the elevator up, ignoring the nerves clawing at my chest. The party was in a lounge-style space, dim lighting, soft jazz playing from a corner speaker. I scanned the room. Small clusters of people, cheap wine like she promised, name tags on awkward blazers. But she wasn't there. I asked someone at the drinks table if this was the only event tonight. Yeah, he replied, though some folks dipped out early. Happens every time I left. Called another Uber. But this time, I didn't go home. I followed the address I found earlier that afternoon in her texts. A hotel, not far. Not fancy either. Business style, discreet, functional. It made my heart beat like a drum just typing it into the app. And when I got there, I didn't walk in. I just sat across the street and waited. 5 minutes later, a black car pulled up. She stepped out, smiling at her phone, then looked up, and Colt got out behind her. He didn't look like a coworker. He didn't look like a friend. He looked like someone who already knew which room they were going to. She didn't see me. Again, I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't storm over. I just watched her laugh. The exact same laugh I used to hear in our kitchen, in our bed, in our life. But now it belonged to someone else. And I realized something that still makes my hands shake as I write this. I hadn't lost her. She'd been gone a long time. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. Everything I had once feared was unfolding right in front of me, and there was something sickly peaceful about knowing for sure. The lies were no longer theoretical. They were real, in motion, dressed in that velvet dress she'd bought on sale, and walking side by side with a man she once claimed was just the funny guy from Design. I didn't take pictures. I didn't record video. I just watched. Then I left. But I didn't go home. I drove around for hours aimlessly until the city lights began to blur. My thoughts were loud but scattered. I was caught in that surreal space where your body is doing one thing, driving, turning, blinking, while your mind is somewhere else entirely, somewhere darker. By the time I pulled into our driveway, the house was dark. It was past midnight. I sat in the car for a moment, staring at the porch light. I had always left it on for her, every night, even when she was late, even when she claimed she was at the gym or grabbing a drink with the team. I left it on like some hopeful idiot waiting for his wife to come home, even though, looking back, most nights she wasn't returning to me. But that night, I left it on for a different reason, not out of love or hope or habit, out of curiosity. I wanted to see if she'd pretend. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch in the dark, no lights except for the porch glow, my phone on silent and face down. Around 2:17 a.m., I heard the key turn in the lock. She stepped inside quietly, trying to ease the door shut like she didn't want to wake me. She was wearing a different coat, hair slightly messy. Lipstick faded, she looked like a woman who had fun. A woman who had been somewhere she didn't belong. I stayed perfectly still. She walked in, paused, looked around. I was sitting just out of sight in the corner of the living room. She didn't call my name, didn't check the bedroom. She just took a deep breath, as if rehearsing something in her head, and went straight to the kitchen. I waited until I heard the tap run, the clink of a glass, then stepped forward. She didn't jump when she saw me. She flinched slightly, like seeing a ghost, like she didn't expect me to actually be there. "You're up," she said, blinking. "Couldn't sleep." She nodded slowly, then added, "I told you it'd be a late night." "You did." Silence stretched between us, thick, uncomfortable. She opened the fridge, grabbed the milk, stalling, then said without turning around, "The party ran longer than expected. Everyone was having a good time. At the office? Yeah. With Colt?" She froze, milk carton in hand, her back still turned to me. "What?" I stepped closer. "You didn't see me tonight, did you?" She turned around, finally facing me. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. That was all I needed. The silence was her confession. The way her eyes dropped. The way she didn't even try to lie. Not right away. "I don't want to fight," she said softly. "I'm not fighting. I was going to tell you." "When? Before or after the next time?" Her face tightened, defensiveness creeping in, just like I knew it would. "You've been so distant lately, Dorian. You don't notice anything. You're always in your head, acting like we're roommates." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "So, that's your excuse?" "No, it's not an excuse. It's just, I didn't plan for this to happen. Colt, it started as a joke. He was just different." "Different from what?" Her lips pressed into a line. She didn't answer. I nodded, turned away, and then she said something that made me stop in my tracks. "You're not the only one who's been unhappy." I looked back at her. "You could have said something. I didn't think you'd listen." That's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was her rewriting the story, making herself the victim of a marriage she never bothered to save. The next morning felt wrong before I even opened my eyes. The kind of stillness that doesn't feel peaceful, more like a vacuum after an explosion. I could hear her in the kitchen, moving about in a rehearsed rhythm, the clinking of mugs, the measured pace of her steps. For a moment, I almost convinced myself to get up, join her, pretend. But the moment I heard her humming, a cheerful little tune like nothing had happened, I stayed right where I was. She had decided this wasn't a crisis. She had decided we could just move forward. When I finally did walk into the kitchen, she handed me a mug of coffee without making eye contact. Her expression was calm, distant, carefully composed. She was dressed for work already. Sleek blazer, perfect makeup, heels that made her seem taller than she ever acted with me. "I made your favorite," she said, gesturing to the eggs on the plate. "Thanks," I muttered, but didn't sit down. I leaned against the counter and watched her pack her bag like she was getting ready for a casual Tuesday, not the morning after being caught red-handed. "You're really going to work?" I asked. She paused, adjusted her bag on her shoulder. "I can't just not go, Dorian." I've got meetings, deadlines. I nodded slowly. And him? She stiffened, didn't answer. I saw you, Lila. I saw everything. I watched you go into that hotel. Finally, she turned to face me. And what do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? That it was a mistake? Fine. I'm sorry. It was a mistake. Happy? No, I said. Because you're not sorry. You're just annoyed you got caught. There was a flicker in her eyes then. Not guilt, not regret. Annoyance. She was irritated that I was dragging this out, that I hadn't collapsed or begged or screamed. She was used to the version of me who stayed quiet, who made peace at all costs. But that version had been gutted the moment I saw her laughing with another man through the glass. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she said, crossing her arms. Colt, he was just someone who listened. You don't. You've been distant for years. I felt alone. You didn't feel alone when you were texting him during dinner, or when you were leaving work late every week, I snapped. You had someone. You just didn't want it to be me. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I set the mug down harder than I meant to. The sound made her flinch. I'm not doing this right now, she said, voice low. I need to go. And just like that, she walked out, not crying, not apologizing again, not begging me to forgive her. She left the way she entered, polished and controlled. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't just standing still anymore. That day, while she played the role of the busy professional, I started sorting through our joint bank account. I began copying files from our shared cloud storage, photos, texts, everything I could find from the past 2 years. I wasn't looking for more evidence. I already had enough. I was building a wall of truth, something solid for myself, in case she ever tried to twist this into something it wasn't. Then I found the folder, one she didn't think I'd ever open. It was named Team Resources, tucked inside a random drive labeled Work Projects. But inside were dozens of screenshots, text messages, images, hotel bookings, sent from her phone, to him, and back. And at the bottom, a draft email, written to Colt. She never sent it, but she had written it. If Dorian finds out, I'll say it's been over for months. Just give me time. I'll fix it. Like I was a problem. Like our marriage was a loose drawer she planned to jam closed with a shrug and move on. I sat there, staring at the screen, numb. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was clarity. Pure, cold clarity. She was prepared. She had her lines rehearsed. And all this time, I had been the only one still believing we were real. She wanted to fix it all right. Just not for me, for him. The next few days were a quiet performance. She acted like everything was fine. Not happy exactly, but moving forward, like she had pressed some internal reset button and expected me to follow along. She didn't bring him up, didn't mention the hotel, didn't acknowledge the crack that had split our marriage open. Instead, she kept things mechanical. Bills, groceries, what to order for dinner. It was all surface level, and for the first time in years, I stopped filling in the gaps. I let the silence grow, but I was watching everything. She started coming home earlier. No more late-night strategy sessions or missed calls. She offered to cook, sat next to me during TV shows she used to scroll through, even laughed at my bad jokes again. But it was off, like a poorly rehearsed version of herself. Like she was trying to become the version of Lila I remembered, not the one who had walked into a hotel with Colt while I stood across the street with questions she'd never answer. Then it happened, the lie. The one she built so carelessly I almost admired how confidently she told it. She came home Friday evening with a bag of groceries and a cheap bottle of wine. She placed it on the counter and said, "Guess what? HR's finally dealing with Colt. He's being transferred. Apparently someone filed a complaint." Completely out of the blue, I said nothing. She smiled like it was funny. "He said he'll probably be working out of the Seattle branch now." Weird, right? That it happened right after the party. Still, I said nothing. Because I was the one who filed that anonymous complaint 2 days ago. I used her screenshots, the emails, the hotel booking on the company card, everything she thought I didn't notice. I didn't do it to get revenge. I did it to see how far she'd go to protect the illusion. And there she was, standing in front of me, pouring wine into 2 glasses, talking about karma like it was some joke. Like Colt getting transferred was just a twist of fate and not the direct result of me deciding I wouldn't play her fool anymore. I took the glass from her, raised it slightly and said, "To honesty." She didn't flinch. To moving forward, she replied with a smile. I drank. She didn't ask me where I'd been the night before, even though I hadn't come home until well past midnight. Didn't question the locked drawer in my desk or the printed pages sticking out of my notebook. Because she didn't want answers. She wanted peace. Her version of it. One where I quietly accepted the rewritten story and stopped asking questions. But I had already stopped asking. Now I was documenting. She had no idea I was preparing to walk away. Not with a fight, not with accusations, but with facts, receipts, screenshots, and one perfectly written goodbye letter, scheduled to send to her, Colt, and our families the moment I closed the front door behind me. I didn't want a screaming match. I wanted her silence, the kind she forced on me for years. I wanted her to sit in that quiet after I was gone and realize just how carefully I watched her destroy what we had, and how little I said until it was too late to fix. I didn't hate her. That was the worst part. But I couldn't love someone who could lie to my face with a smile and toast to a future she'd already replaced. So I smiled back. And I waited. Because the truth wasn't something I needed to shout anymore. She had no clue what day it was for me. For her, it was just another Monday. Another workday full of pretending, texting, lying by omission. She kissed me lightly on the cheek before leaving that morning. Same script as always. Same hollow tone. I stood in the kitchen, coffee in hand, watching her walk out in heels she used to save for special events. Now they were for him, or for whatever version of herself she thought she had to become to keep up the fantasy she'd built. As soon as the door clicked shut behind her, I moved. Every step was part of a plan I had been refining for days. I wasn't packing up a bag and storming out. That would give her too much drama to cling to. No, this wasn't going to be about her. This was my exit. Silent, precise, permanent. I started in the closet. My half was already thinned out, little by little, over the last week. She never noticed the missing shirts or the extra hangers. This morning, I grabbed the last few items, folded them neatly, and placed them into the suitcase I'd hidden in the trunk of my car. Everything personal was removed from the bathroom. Razor, cologne, watch tray, gone, like I'd never existed there. Then came the desk. That drawer she never asked about, it held printed screenshots, emails, date-stamped call logs, even hotel receipts I recovered from our shared online folders. I placed them in a sealed envelope, addressed not to her, but to myself. It was evidence, yes, but more than that, it was closure. I needed to know I hadn't imagined the betrayal, that it was real, tangible, provable. Because when she eventually rewrote this story for others, which I knew she would, I wanted to be able to tell myself I wasn't crazy. I left a single envelope on the kitchen table. Not dramatic, no long letter, just one handwritten note. You made your choices. I finally made mine. Don't look for me. Inside it, I included the ring, not the original wedding band. That had long lost its meaning. This was a silver band I had ordered a few days prior. Engraved on the inside was the phrase, "You stopped looking at me long before I disappeared." I didn't care if she kept it or threw it away. It wasn't for her. It was the final punctuation on a story I didn't write, but was forced to live through. Before I left, I did one more thing. I opened every window in the house, pulled back the curtains, let in the daylight. I wanted her to feel the emptiness when she returned. I didn't want the shadows to comfort her. I wanted her to walk into our home and realize that the silence wasn't temporary this time, that I wasn't in the other room, that I hadn't just gone for a walk. Then I took one final walk through the house, our house. The framed picture of us in Paris, gone. The playlist we used to cook to, deleted. The spare key she always thought I kept under the mat, removed. I locked the door from the outside, slid the key into the mailbox, and walked away. There was no dramatic goodbye, no angry confrontation, no tearful apology. Because those would all give her something to fight against, something to defend. But I wasn't giving her that. She had already spent months building a new life. I was just finally getting out of its way. Hours later, she would come home to the same walls, the same furniture, the same polished floors. But nothing would feel right. Not the silence, not the shadows, not the absence of the man she thought would always stay no matter how invisible he became. And when she found the note, she'd realized something even more terrifying than being caught. I had stopped caring whether she felt guilty. The messages started 2 hours after I left. First, just a simple, "Where are you?" Then came the missed calls, 9 in a row. After that, the flood of texts, a mix of confusion, panic, denial. I didn't read them in real time, but I saw the notifications roll in, one after another, until the screen looked like a silent scream. The best one came at 6:14 p.m. She wrote, "Dorian, please come back. I didn't know it had gotten this bad. We can fix this. I'll do anything." That line, "We can fix this," hit me differently now. Not because it sounded hopeful, but because I finally knew that it wasn't true. There was no "we" left, just the wreckage she tried to paint over with smiles and cheap wine. She wasn't asking for me. She was asking for her stability back, her reputation, her safety net. But I had already reclaimed what mattered, my self-worth. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I wanted to heal me. In the weeks that followed, I moved into a small apartment on the other side of the city. Nothing fancy, just a quiet space with a view of the skyline and a coffee shop downstairs that doesn't know my name yet. And I like it that way. I started journaling again. I signed up for a photography class. And for the first time in years, I'm learning who I am when I'm not someone's afterthought. She emailed me once, long, emotional, blaming herself, half apologizing, half justifying. I read it once, closed it, and archived it. I didn't reply. Because closure isn't something she can give me. It's something I've already given myself. I'm not angry anymore, not bitter, just free. And that's the ending I never thought I'd have. Not a dramatic reunion, not a sudden apology with tears, but peace. Real, quiet, unshakable peace. I've stopped asking why she did it. I've stopped wondering what could have been different. Because now, every morning when I open the curtains to a place that is mine alone, I know I didn't just walk away from her. I walked back to myself.